I'm in Dublin on Merrion Square, where Oscar Wilde used to live, but behind me, just over there, number 80, where you can see the flags of the EU and Slovakia, that used to be the headquarters of the FAI, the Football Association of Ireland, and it was there on the 7th of February 1986 that they appointed Jack Charlton as national manager by mistake. Irish football at the time was not in a great state. They'd failed to qualify for the World Cup, crowds were down, the FAI was in financial crisis. It'll shock you to learn. Their last qualifier for the World Cup, which they'd failed to reach, was against Denmark. They lost 4-1 at home. Only 12,000 people turned up. And there's a movement within the FAI saying, look, we need to take things more seriously. We need a full-time manager, with only a part-time manager up to then. And there was also a suggestion that a manager had to be based in England, where a lot of the best players were based, which obviously was controversial. So they go through a long process. They interview dozens of people. John Giles is the early favourite. He'd already done the job on a part-time basis. He pulls out because he gets so frustrated with how many leaks there are. And eventually they whittle it down by early 1986 to a short list of 3. There's the overwhelming favourite, who's Liam Toohey, who was the youth coach at the time. He's Irish. There's Billy McNeill, the great captain of Celtic, who won the European Cup with them in '67. He was at Manchester City at the time as a manager, but he'd won the Scottish League 3 times with Celtic. And then there's Jack Charlton. Jack Charlton at that point is very much the outsider. He's won promotion with Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday. His football is very direct, very high pressing. He's kind of out of football by this point. He had a very bad time with Newcastle and in 84-5, and had basically walked away sort of frustrated, disillusioned with the modern game. But there are people who think that style of football might be exactly what, that pragmatic style of football might be exactly what Ireland needs. So it comes to January the 9th, and Des Casey, the head of the FAI, he goes over to Manchester to speak to Billy McNeill and speak to Manchester City. City are unwilling to release him, and so he tries to work out a part-time deal to try and get Billy McNeill for between 20 and 30 days, but they can't reach agreement. And so they come back and think, right, we've only got 2 candidates now. Should we try and reopen the shortlist to get Giles readmitted? Eamon Dunphy, the great pundit, he speaks to Giles, says, come back, make yourself available again. Giles is a great mate, agrees to that. And so on February the 9th, the evening, the FAI meet here, the 18-man board, to decide who's going to be the national manager. The first thing they've got to do is work out, are they allowed to reopen the shortlist to admit Giles? So that meeting takes an hour as they discuss that. They agree, yeah, okay, we'll reopen it. Giles can be admitted to the shortlist, which Des Casey pulls a rabbit out of his hat. He'd been in talks with Bob Paisley. Paisley, by this point, is 65. He's retired from Liverpool in 1983, but he's the most successful manager at that point in English history. He's won the league 6 times, won the European Cup 3 times. He's a director at Liverpool, but he thinks he can combine that with being national manager. And at this, there's outcry. People are saying, was Giles just a stalking horse for Paisley? Which, to be honest, looks true at this point. But they agree, okay, we now have a 4-person shortlist. So it comes to the voting. And the way it works, you have to get an absolute majority. So you have to get 10 of the 18 to vote for you. And at each round of voting, they knock out the person who's won the least votes. So that first round of voting, Paisley wins 9 of the 18, and each of the other 3 candidates each win 3. So that means they have to have a vote to decide which of those other 3 they're going to knock out. Charlton wins that 5-4 over Giles. Toohey doesn't get any votes, and leaves his famous quip that he somehow managed to come 3rd in a 2-horse race. So they're then choosing between 3 candidates. The assumption is Paisley's going to win, because even if all of Giles' candidates switch to Charlton, it's 9-9. Des Casey has a casting vote, and he's going to go for Paisley. But somebody in that final round of voting, somebody switches, and we still to this day don't know who it was. And Charlton wins 10-8, and it appears the FAI have, almost by accident, appointed the man who'll become their most successful manager of all time. Giles is in the Berkeley Court Hotel, waiting to go on RTE on the Late Late Show to talk about becoming the new national manager. Late Late Show prepared for this. Giles gets a phone call, says, "Sorry, you're out. It's not you." So he, settles down in the bar. The Late Late Show prepared to make the announcement, and there's an astonishing bit of footage of Gay Byrne, the famous host, being handed a piece of paper. He looks at it, look of complete bafflement on his face, and says, Yeah, I've just been handed a bit of paper. It says Jack Charlton's been made the manager of Ireland, whatever that means. There's silence in the audience, apart from one person, this solitary whooper. Woo! And that's it. It's a very underwhelming response. But then the FAI, they can't even get hold of Jack Charlton. They don't know where he is. Des Casey hasn't spoken to him since January the 20th, so over 2 weeks. They can't get hold of him that night. I tell you the next day that Jimmy Armfield, the great England fullback, Blackpool fullback, he realises, he's working for the BBC Radio at the time, he realises that Charlton's filming a fishing documentary, and it's him who makes a call and says, "Congratulations, Jack, you've got the job." And Jack Charlton goes, "What job?" Or at least that's the legend. And so that is how the FAI, on February the 9th, 1986, in this building just over here, how they appointed their most successful ever manager by mistake. He went on to qualify for 2 World Cups and a Euros. Ireland had never been in a major tournament before, and yet they didn't even really want him. I'm Wilson, this is The World, and that was Wilson's World. We'll see you next time.